Welcome back to MVM. Today we have a preview for Time of Legends Joan of Arc version 1.5, a remastered version of the original game from Mythic, a 2 to 4 player campaign game that takes place in the 100 Years' War.
Yeah, and as you can see, this is a miniatures game. Of course, some of the miniatures are larger than others, but like Jeremy said, this is a version 1.5, which streamlines the rules even more than they were. This is a miniatures game that is somewhat approachable to gamers like us, because we're not typically the kind of guys who get these games to the table, but this is hex-based. There's not a lot of rules that you're following. There's a lot of interesting flavor, though, in all of the characters and scenarios you're going to play.
So before we get into the changes with the 1.5 system, let's talk about Joan of Arc in general. Number one, please check out our round one, because we actually play through a scenario that will introduce you to how the game plays. However, the game can be played in one of two different ways. One is through a skirmish. You're basically going to set up a map, pick one of the different mini armies within the game, and just have it out. The other way, and the main way to play the game, is through the many different campaigns that are included in each of these different boxes. They come in two different versions. You have historical, which mirror the actual things that happened during the 100 Years' War, and then you have the mythical side of it, where you have things like the dragons and the beasts in the game that are going to be introduced that kind of mix with those historical elements.
Yeah, and that really gives the game a really unique flavor, or two flavors as it were, because the mythical side, of course, is very fantasy-based. However, the historical side is extraordinarily historically based. There's a lot of interesting and rich details, which we found in the scenario that we played.
This is an action point allowance game too, so on your turn you're going to have a number of different cards in front of you that are going to represent these different units. You have basic units, you have soldiers or characters in the game, and then you have all these different mythical units. You're going to be using actions to maneuver these people through the course of the game, using different cards and such, and the different actions on those particular things. Now the cool thing too is that the game through the scenarios are asymmetrical. So it's not always just the person to kill the other side. There's goals that you're trying to achieve, and there's actually narrative within the game as well.
Yeah, the narrative is probably one of the cooler aspects for us, and that narrative extends to NPCs that are in some of the scenarios, but also in those characters Jeremy just mentioned. These characters are going to be vastly different and asymmetrical on both sides. So a lot of the depth in this game comes from understanding all of those characters out in front of you, and not only that, but all of the characters in front of your opponent.
All right, so let's talk about the changes with 1.5. They've gone back to the core system, and they've looked at the rules, and they've condensed them down to make it easier and more approachable for you to play. One of the main things that they're doing is they're providing a 1.5 rulebook for pre-existing people that already have the game. This can be downloaded as a PDF, and it's going to condense some of those rules and just make it easier and more approachable for people to get in and play right away.
And in fact, the new campaign has a really cool option. If you back it for at least $20, you're going to get a hardcover scenario book that has all of the scenarios updated for the newest version. You're going to get the newest rule book, and in fact, you're going to get updated cards and game elements that reflect all of that.
Yeah, because there's a lot of changes that have been made in each of these different campaigns. Again, they've gone back, they've looked at the rule sets, they've taken feedback from the community, and they've made those changes to make it more approachable for you to play. Also, with any Kickstarter, they're introducing all of this content that you already have, plus new content. One of the main features are the Teutonic Knights. They're going to introduce Polish and Lithuanian forces to the actual game itself, including a number of different stretch goals. They're going to introduce more forces and, of course, more mythic creatures into the game as well.
Yeah, and as you can tell, or you might know, these expansions add a lot, like Jeremy just said. Not only is it going to cover the Polish and Lithuanian forces, but it includes a lot of those mythical creatures.
Including the ability to play them in setups like this, where you have full-out sieges taking place on the map.
It's crazy.
All right, so that is Time of Legends Joan of Arc version 1.5. Make sure you guys go to the Kickstarter page to see all the new changes. If you have any questions about the game, make them in the comments below, and make sure you guys come to our round one to watch a full round of the game being played, and we'll see you guys next time.
Bye-bye.